What are we waiting on?
But you're right.
Hello, welcome.
Hey.
Hello.
How are y'all?
Great.
How are you?
I want to thank everyone for coming today, and then just a little bit about myself. I am the HR manager of the Comment Consultants. So if I can have the team to briefly state that title and name, please.
Yeah, I'm the financial analyst for the community consulting. My name is Eddie. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Eddie.
And I'm the pension specialist. Call me Owen.
Okay, hi, Owen.
I'm the consulting manager from the Comic Consulting. My name is Yao.
Hi,
Nice to
Yao.
meet you guys.
Welcome.
Well, what have you guys put together for us today?
Okay. Well. Okay. So, next slide, please. Okay. So in 2009, Ford's competitor GM has recorded a $17.1 billion in their pension liability. Today, Ford, or a strong company like Ford, is facing a similar challenge. They recorded a $15.4 billion in their pension liability, which means they are $15.4 billion underfunded in their pension plan. We all know that this needs immediate attention, but not a problem. We, Comment Consultant, is here to assist. Okay, so in order for us to tackle this challenge, our solution is, next slide please. Okay, our solution is buy in and buy out. Later, the team will explain why and how this will work. But before we go into the detail of our buy in and out plan, there's some few minutes we have to do. And let me just give a quick example. Just pretend today we are hearing some weird noises coming out from our engine of the car, which is our pension plan. But in order for us to fix this strange noise, we might have to look at some other areas of the car. Well, of course, first finding out who did our inspection, and next check the transmission, and then check the engine oil. Okay, so what I mean by maintenance are the strategic analyst, and then the financial assessment as the engine oil. So next please. Okay, so let's look at who are doing our inspection. Okay, next. Well, seems like the management team and the board of directors, they are well qualified for the oversight responsibility. Not only most of them have an impressive resume and credibility, but they are also diversified in terms of skills and knowledge. And by looking at their annual statement, proxy statement, committee charters, and also the corporate governance policy, seems like they're meeting all the reporting and also the independence requirement. Now, one thing to be cautious about will be the female or the gender diversity. Out of the Fortune 100 companies, for the companies who has outranked Ford, or other than the petroleum industry, of course, all have a higher ratio of female board of directors. And if this is what makes the difference, I believe it's just because by having more female board of directors can increase the board diversity and to prevent similar thinkings. Now, overall, seems like the inspection people or the board of directors and management, they are doing what they are supposed to do. So next, let's move on to the next main step, the transmission or the strategic objectives. Next, please. Right now, Ford has two main objectives. First is to expand in the Asia Pacific market. Right now, Ford only has 3% of the Asia Pacific market, while GM have 8%. So what are they doing to go into that Asian market and have a bigger share of the pie? So what they want to do, their strategy is to have a smaller, more fuel efficiency vehicles and eco support and fuel saving technology eco boost engine. And what are the risks? We all know every strategic plan has risk. The risk is that it's an intense, you will have intensive competition, and like I said, right now they are still maintaining a very low percentage of share. Okay, next. The second objective will be, okay, well, I guess we have another strategy for the expanding, because right now what we want to emphasize is expanding into the Asian market. So the second strategy for that is to make big investment, build a sample plant and manufacture facilities. And what is the risk for that? That the risk will be a risk-to-debt ratio and a huge pension gap. And our team, like I said, will explain more about that and how we can prevent that moving forward. Okay, so next I am gonna have Eddie to talk about our next maintenance, the engine oil or the financial assessment.
Thank you, Amy. Now, I will talk about the financial level risk in 3 aspects related to the pension buyout policy. That is, first one is profitability. The second one is solvency and liquidity. So first one, let's have a look for the profitability. Let us have an overview on the revenue and net income from 2007 to 2011. Generally, the revenue goes down from 170 to 136 billion in 2011, which means Ford loses its market share definitely in this bad economy. And also for the net income, Ford grows to 20 billion in 2011 from the bottom point, 15 billion loss in 2008. And from here, the profit margin based on the US market, we find Ford has a very strong profitability. Let's go ahead. So we may curiosity why Ford has so high profit in 2011, and which number is the highest amount since 2000. And later, those 20 billion will transfer to be the return earnings, and we get ready for the pension buyout. And let's look back to see what does the net income come from. It comes from the profit from operation, which is 43%, and adjustment, or you can call it the benefit from income taxes, which is 57%. So this money from operation is real money, and the benefit from income tax is not real. So we make curiosity about why we have so much benefit from income tax. Let's go ahead. There we go. I will give you the reason very directly. That's because of valuation laws in DTA, and you may be very curious about the regulatory factors. That is employee benefit plan, which is a timing difference between accounting and tax basis, and also the net operating loss from previous year carry forward here, and also the tax credit carry forward, which is President Obama signed for the cost efficiency car incentive program. And also I told you the key point is the valuation allowances. In 2010, Ford has a negative 15.7 billion for valuation allowances, and then in 2011 they get rid of the 14 billion, so only 1.5 billion left. So on behalf of Ford management, we may say Ford go through the hard time, and it cannot be go bankrupt or even a new business get started. Ford will meet a bright future. So that's the reason why they drop down those numbers to 1.5 billion. But all of the things based on one thing, that Ford has very strong profitability in the future. If Ford has any loss in the next year, then all this benefit will disappear, and our pension buyout policy will be impossible. Go ahead. Here I'll talk about solvency and liquidity risk. From fiscal year 11, we have a total cash flow, which is also the cash and the cash equivalent. That is 17.15 billion, And also we have the debt due in in the fiscal year 2012 is 70.63 billion. So we may question, where is room for the pension buyout? Where we get money from? If we pay the money for the pension buyout, how we can pay the due debt? So we may meet the solvency risk in the future. So go ahead, Owen. And definitely the current ratio will drop down dramatically. And on another hand, for the liquidity, if we don't have enough cash flow, how we can do the business with our dealer, how we can financing our consumers, where is our working capitals? So we made also the risk in the liquidity. Go ahead. Also, I will give some good news. That is the return on the invested capital is pretty high since June 2011. So the interest rate for long-term and short-term is only a 4.4%, 4.4% and 1.4% respectively. Compared with our return on the invested capital, that's just a piece of cake. Also, it's very competitive when we compare with our competitor GM. So all this problem will be solved if Ford can earn enough cash flow and profit in future in 2012. All the profitability and solvency and liquidity risk will be definitely will be solved. And now let's welcome my best colleague, pension analyst Owen, come here to talk about the pension issue. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Pensions. Let's talk about pensions. So Ford now has two different pension plans. The first one is known as defined contribution plan, which is a need really simple accounting treatment, and basically Ford just contribute a fixed amount of money in the end of each period. And the other one is the defined benefit plan, which needs really complex accounting treatment. At the same time, it is Ford bears the risk, in contrast to the defined contribution plan, which is Ford's employee bear the risk. And as we can see, Ford is moving from the traditional defined benefit plan to the newest defined contribution plan in 2004 and 2011 respectively. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the major components of the defined benefit plan. Okay, so how can we know about the funding status? So it is calculated based on the project benefit obligation and the difference of the fair value of plan assets. And to smooth the income, according to FASB, we had to make the plan amendments and the difference between actual and expected return, or in accumulated other comprehensive income. And for the pension expenses, it is recorded as net periodic benefit costs. So, because Ford is an automotive company, they have two different separate entries for the net periodic cost. One is known as the automotive cost of sales, which is for the manufacturing labors, and the other one is known as sales administrative and other expenses, which is for the selling people and administrative and managers. Okay, as we can see in this chart, pension is really risk, and they have many uncertainties. One of the main uncertainties is because of the market fluctuation. As we can see in this picture, in around 2000, when the dot-com burst occurred, pension status declined dramatically. And again, in the 2008, when the global economic downturn occurred, it again declined significantly. And we are now reached the lowest level throughout these years. And now we actually have some kind of good news. The life expectancy in all over the place where Ford has operation, Asia, Europe, world, United States, the life expectancy is much more higher than the world average level. But the fact is, we need to pay more, right? We have to increase the pension liability in that case. So how can we get the pension obligation for the present level or present value of that? So we need to calculate the salary, right? So as we can see in this chart, GM really did, because they have a very strong union. So in 2007, when the global economic downturn happened, they still decide to have a really quite stable increasing salary. So when that year, they actually went bankruptcy. So Ford, we have a really constructive policy on increasing salary. And as I mentioned before, we have to calculate the present value of plan obligation. So the discount rate is used to discount the pension obligation. And in that case, Ford and GM has shared a common idea about that. And the other one is the expected return, because for the net periodic cost, we are calculated based on an expected return rate instead of actual return, which is required by FASB to smooth the income. And here, for pension, we are really looking for the long-term point of view for the pension obligation. So try to avoid those fluctuation because of the economic. That's why we decide to use the expected return rate. So one of the common ways to measure the pension risk is to compare with the equivalent debit. So Ford Motor Automobile in the US has 17.1 billion debit, and we in the US we are currently 9.4 billion unfunded, and we are now 15.4 billion unfunded worldwide. So with such unfunded pension pay, it has to have negative income of all those different aspects such as profitability, cash flow, ability to borrow, credit rating, and company valuation. So now we really need a de-risking strategy how to decrease the pension liability. So let's have Yao to talk about that.
And first, I want to talk about OPEB, the other post-employee benefits. You can see the difference between the pension and OPEB. For pension, it's earned gradually, and for OPEB, it's like R-nothing plan. Like before the 1993, OPEB is on a pay-as-you-go basis, and after that, you need to the company needs to expense or cost over the years necessary for the employee to be eligible for the benefit. Like if this is an eligibility point, the company needs to expense the cost over years before that. For this year, the status of worldwide OPEB is underfunded by 6.5 billion. Just as Owen mentioned, they need some de-risking strategies. So I want to first talk about some strategies already done by Ford. First is changing pension plan assets. You can see in prior asset allocation, the fixed income investment is account for only 45%, and after that, Ford one play safe. So from 2011, it increased to 80%. Besides that, because Ford has like 9.4 billion underfunded liability in US. So in early this year, Ford announced the pension buyout plan. What is pension buyout? Basically, the company removed all the asset liability to the insurance company and paid their pensioners a lump sum. We strongly agree with the pension buyout plan, and also we have some ideas that Ford can adopt to convince people to accept a lump sum. So compared with our Euro pension asset, why is buyout better? First, survivability. Like when both spouses die and there will be nothing of pension left over. But with lump sum, there's a possible balance left over. You can imagine who don't want to leave a fortune to their children. And second, distribution and distribution flexibility. With a lump sum, people can roll that money over to IRA, which is tax deferred, and also other qualified pension asset, pension plans. And for people born before 1936, they enjoy a special average 10 years. That means you, with the lump sum, you can average the lump sum over 10 years at your only income. And third is inflation and interest.
You're already past time.
Okay.
Do we want to stop them
Yeah,
or
keep going.
keep going? Okay, but I'm just actually I didn't catch your right one.
With the pension plan, it locks in investment for a long time, but definitely locks out the inflation risks. And so this year is a low inflation, low interest year, but in the future there may be inflation years. In that case, the purchase power will be harmed severely. Okay. So Ford is going to carry out the pension buyout as early as August. So basically the plan is to roll out over in one year. So what if after 1 year, still a lot of people, they don't accept the lump sum, they don't participate in plan. Here our company consulting offer you the backup plan, which is pension buy-in. So what is pension buy-in? The company gonna exchange part of assets to buy in annuities that provided by insurance company. And the pensioners still receive the same pension income. So why we think this plan asset that fits Ford? So first, after the buyout, there will be fewer plan assets left over, and the buy-in that requires very few assets compared with the buyout that requires. So it's like more feasible. And second, longevity risk. The pension buy-in plan only transfer the liability related to the current pensioner's part. So these people are oldest, and the longevity risk is really small. And third, lock-in. The buy-in contract that locks in the discount rate and also the pension cost. So we can avoid the future flexibility. What is changing? So I want to talk about the buy-in buyout impact on the financial statement asset of financial statements. First of all, buyouts will remove pension obligation to plan assets, and for current, there's a current income statement. I can recognize the gain allowance deferred in LOCI, which is accumulated other comprehensive income, and in the future income statements, there's no impact. And for buying, there's no change in balance sheet and current income statement, but we do need to amortize the gain allowance in the future. First, we talk about our strategy. Like Ford wants to expand its market in China. So we recommend Ford to put more consideration in the defined contribution plan, which creates very little liability compared with defined benefits. You can see that most countries in China, they all have defined contribution plans. But for some countries, it also requires defined benefit plan. In that case, how to better manage your plan asset will be a big issue. And Ford already stated point, in China, in May of this year, the China Construction Bank, the second biggest bank in China, successfully won the bids for the China Employee Benefit Plan Management. It's the first time in China's history we adopt competitive bidding process to choose the bank or choose a company to manage our plan assets. So right now we talk about our governance and strategy, and also risk and financial statement lemon, pension, and OPEB. And we believe for future opportunities will become a reality. Buying with us is a done deal. Thank you.
Okay, I have to tell you, I love it so much more than the first time y'all
Isn't
did
it great?
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Now questions, so you guys get ready.
Okay, so I don't understand how the 15.4 billion have gone away. Can you walk me from 15.4 billion to 0?
Actually, what, 1.5, right?
Yeah.
1 year? You go from 15.4 to 1.5 in 1 year?
Yep. This one? Yeah. The same.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You
the-
started with a slide that said you have a 15.4 debt.
I know, you want a very beginning?
Exactly, step by step, how does it get me to 0 or to whatever my minimal issue is? How much are you projecting is
You
going
guys
to
should
be
be
a
standing up to
buy-in or a
answer
buy-out?
questions. If we can look you in the eye, then you have to answer us. So how is it going away?
The worst strategy possible in this situation is to look around at each other.
Right.
Okay, so at this point,
You look at-
You've already
you gotta
lost
look
it.
confident. You've already
Okay,
lost this.
For the pension buyout policy, it will not change this underfunded status. Will not. Because we will change both pension
Obligation?
oh my god, obligation and pension assets at the same time. But for the pension buy-in policy, we will transfer our pension obligation to the insurance company, which will reduce some extent of the underfunded status.
But don't you have to pay for that insurance that you
Definitely,
purchased?
we will pay. That's
And your
our
liability will go
liability,
down,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we pay our liability transfer to the third party.
This is what I told you guys you're gonna have to, the
Okay, so-
quantification of it.
Okay, so we're done asking the question. Here's what I was envisioning the answer to look like, is saying, okay, our assumption based on our work is that this 15.4 is going to go, we assume 40% of your employees will take the buyout. Therefore, your liability is now here. Now we're gonna assume another 40% will go through and we're gonna transfer that to an insurance obligation. So now, because you start with this big number, I wanna end showing this number going away.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If that's where you're trying to head, if your goal is to show us that this liability is either gone or is covered by enough assets, I want to see that resolution because I kind of heard it, but I didn't visually see it, and so I don't feel like it's got a nice bow on it. You guys feel the same way?
You guys know that I had told them that that was something that they really need
That's
to
okay.
quantify.
They have come a really
I
long
know.
way, so they've done a lot of changes. I love the maintenance checklist. I think that was great.
And you did a great transition into that, Amy. I want to just tell you the way that you took that 15.4 billion. The only thing that I would have done is I would not have had them switch over to the Ford's user manual until you talked about buy-in, buy-out.
Okay.
Then move over to that Ford's user manual and then say,
And I
these are
think
what we're going to do.
Immediately, like in any presentation, you want to tell us what the problem is and immediately tell us what solutions, in my opinion,
Yeah.
quickly, I want to know what
Yes.
solutions you're providing so I can think about those in my head. And maybe you did,
They did, but this is where I had asked
clear.
Eddie when they were doing it, after this 15.4, I think there should be another slide that says,
Yeah.
our solution is buy-in, buy-out.
problem, solution.
And even right
something
here,
like that.
right here. So
Even underneath
15.4 is your first slide. You say, holy cow, this is a huge amount of money. The next slide is 15.54, and you make it get smaller by buy-in and get
And then
smaller
you
by
can show that
buy-out.
number getting
Yeah.
smaller as you go through.
Yeah.
It's quantifying, but you guys can do it because you've got the
And guess,
information.
you don't know, you don't really know where the
You
40%,
don't really know.
and they come in and they say, well, why do you think 40% of my workforce is gonna buy in? Well, because 40% of your workforce appears to be older employees who don't wanna take the risk of their plan completely disappearing.
And the other thing is,
Make it up, it's okay.
the other thing that you need to say is that they've already decided, as you guys know, they've already decided to do the buyout. But you need to somehow build the case that as Comet Consulting, you guys have some really great ideas to incentivize people to take that buyout. And you feel that they need an even further focused effort to really explain the benefit of survivability and leaving a big pocket of money to your children or whatever, and all these other things. And so maybe you could say, without the proper marketing, this maybe 10% buy-in. But if you guys help with the impetus of that marketing, it's going to be 50%. See what I mean? And by doing this, you guys are accountants. You can really build the case and sell that to the employees. So what I would do is show the difference between if 10% buy-in versus if 50% buy-in. And then if those other 50% do not buy in, and then you guys tried to talk about China and other places, And going forward, that you don't even offer the pension. So I think that also shows the impact in the future, which I think you were trying to get at, but we were just losing time.
Hey, do you guys want me to maybe check out why equivalent company like Fortune 100, they did a pension buyout before and maybe?
Yes, that would be a good way to get some estimates, but again, you're kind of pulling the numbers out from somewhere, but you guys, for pretty much everything in here, you have substantiation for how you did it, so I think, Owen, that would be fantastic.
I would not put one number on this thing. I
If you
could
can't
not
substantiate
support
it. Yeah,
Cause that's, I mean, in case competition, they'll find, they're looking for one weakness.
yeah,
And when they find it, they're gonna just really hammer. And it's how you handle it that's gonna be key.
yeah.
Not that you make a mistake, it's how you handle the mistake. You look at each other, you don't know, you really gotta come across.
Yeah, because that 15.4, when Jennifer asked you guys that question and you guys all stared at each other and then stared down hoping that she wouldn't make eye contact with any one of you, that's going to kill the competition. You guys have to have an answer for anything. And even if you don't have an answer, better than just sitting there would be, yeah, you have a great point, I see what you mean. Whatever, and try to wiggle out of it, but not answering or looking down is just going to be not good.
And if you are stuck in a situation where they say, where did you get that number from? You're like, no. It's okay to say, that's a really good question, like, but, based on the time we have here, we need to focus on these key
Oh
items.
yeah, thank you.
If absolutely you have no, I've done it before. I got myself stuck in a position in a client meeting where I have no idea. I'd be like, you know what, that's a good question. I'm going to follow up with you with an email or something.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it, and say,
And I don't know
yes.
if you'll say it that way, but you'll
Yeah, but
say,
they could.
but the most important thing that we need to
I'll get
do
back
is
to you.
focus on this. Yeah, you're not going to, in any world you go into, you're never going to know 100% of the question they're going to ask you.
Absolutely.
That's how you handle it.
And the other thing is, yeah, you need to be prepared to answer any question, whether you have any idea or not. Like, for example, if you really didn't understand that, what you could probably say is, Ms. Johnson, that's a really great point, what you're saying. The main thing is, a lot of this is forward-looking, and so to quantify it is a challenge. But we can put together some numbers for you, and if you guys decide to sign with us, we can put together some different figures and facts that can really get that number to almost nothing. Maybe you handle it like that, but it would be better if you guys show it going down.
We're trying to talk about getting rid of $15 billion in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to do.
You accumulated this debt over X number of
Yeah,
years.
exactly. Now you
It
want
ain't
an
going
answer.
away tomorrow.
You want an
people.
answer right now? Is that- Okay.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
okay,
what it is, they've been reading the Wall
You
Street
did a
Journal
great
too
job
much.
covering it.
Yeah.
okay.
Sure,
Yeah.
Wendy, you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you
What?
were winging it for her section, and she made a lot of changes since the last time you guys did it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for Eddie. What does DTA mean?
Yeah, I read it.
Oh, DTA means deferred tax.
Don't use the abbreviation, say it out, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And you need to write it on the slides. Don't put DTA. I'm an accountant, and I should know that.
Yeah,
Y'all have got too many acronyms on here.
Go to this slide with the DTA on it too.
sure.
Yeah, I don't think you really, that took a dramatic change.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean,
Well, so keep going to the slide that said DTA on it, one more. Okay, this one, I didn't follow the slide.
I
Yeah,
believe it.
I don't follow this
I
either.
couldn't, technically in my mind I get
Right.
it, but it didn't link, go back one slide now, go back.
This is, Eddie, this
Okay,
is where
see
that 8.7 and
the
remember.
Yeah, the 11.5 and the 8.7 is what you're trying to explain, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to have a folder analysis for the adjustment.
Okay, so
that's a-
start, go,
that's a
so now
tax adjustment.
go one more slide forward.
And you can change the name of adjustment like we
Now,
talked about to
Go
benefit.
to the DTA slide.
Okay.
Okay, so the one on the left is the 11.5 or what? I don't know, whichever.
No,
one.
the 11.5 is for 2011. That 2010 is
So-
actually
Alright,
is
so the
2010 numbers.
Difference between these two is
No.
what you're trying to explain?
Well,
well, that's one thing.
So I guess my
Then you-
question is, I go back one slide.
Yes. yeah.
I understood this, and what I got from
Yeah.
this was, okay, cool, this is a one-time hit. This isn't gonna be there forever. But you then were trying to explain this one-time hit, right? Is that what you're doing in the next slide?
11.5.
Yes.
Tax credit.
So
Right,
all
Abby?
of this makes up
I
11.5?
can't follow.
No,
That
all
side.
this,
that side's 2010. I think we
That's
probably
2011.
should.
Okay. Okay, I don't know that this is necessary.
I'll be honest with us.
Super
You're
confused.
I lost you
Yeah.
in the presentation.
I think
not
what-
saying it's your fault. we might not be smart enough to
No,
stick
No,
with
no.
it's complicated.
I think what he needs to do is the information that's on here, go back one slide.
Yeah.
What you basically would say, go back to there.
Yeah. This is good.
This is good, but what you need to say is, you know, we're wanting to show you that this net income is 20.2 billion. Well, how much of this is actual real income? The profit for operations is 8.7 billion, but we also have some that 11.5 billion. I think what you could do there is just say these adjustments are otherwise known as benefits from
Yeah.
tax, whatever you called it. This is made up of deferred tax assets, blah blah blah. You don't even think he needs to go there?
Here's what this is one thing. The 8.7, 11.5 say this is 2011.
Yes.
Could it be 2012? Net income is only going to be this number because this benefit goes away, and kind of just show them that if they don't find something to replace this, or support their income, their
Good point, Jeff.
operation.
Here is the real money. Here is the
Yeah, that's
benefit
true.
from income tax. It's not real.
You think you
Okay.
can explain?
It's not even be
Does
realized.
that, did that,
It
can
will
he
be
explain
realized in
that
the
well?
future.
It's that other one that's confusing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got, if I were you, I'd get rid of a lot of the stuff, and I'd just focus on the subject. I mean, that's what's dragging me down the 20 minutes. I
Yeah,
really care about market share and all,
I think
this
we-
is a consulting firm to the board of directors at Ford, that hopefully they know their own company, right?
yeah,
So you're really kind of like doing a capital budgeting where you're just looking at, you know, incremental costs, incremental changes. So I would take a lot of the board's gonna already know. how
yeah, and they
much
already
you
know,
made.
they already know what their funny money's made
Yeah,
out
give
of.
me the bottom line on this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main thing I think you need to do, Eddie, you have come so far on this, and I know you have been working super hard on this. You were so much more focused today and really hitting it and pulling it together for the pension buyout. What I'd like to see on this section is you taking all of your analysis of the cash flow, all of your analysis of the cash on hand, and you guys need to figure out how much money do they truly have available right now to do the buyout? And how much, if they do the buyout and they get 50% of their people to buy out, that's what, 7.5 billion. How are they going to fund that? How are they
Exactly.
going to pay for that?
I didn't see that
And
either.
we're not, you and I talked about it. You said they're going to pay for it through retained earnings, but you can't do that. You have to pay for it from cash. You need to pay for it from loans, or you need to pay for it from stock, or you've got to find some other way to pay for it. Okay, so you've got to figure out, now you talked about it here, an estimate for 5 billion here. So if I read between the lines, what that tells me is that you're saying that 1/3 of the people are going to do a buyout, because you're saying 5 billion, but this still wasn't as clear as it could have
Not
been.
clear.
Okay, it's not clear. It's only clear probably to me because I've seen this a lot more than everyone else. But this one needs to be clearer, I think. And I wouldn't call that cash flow. That's confusing. It's really cash and equivalents is 17.15 billion. The debt. Remember, you and I talked about that. That's
Huge.
short-term debt. And I think the other slide where you show the current ratio, I think, going down when they pay. That you guys understand this part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you bet.
But you see they're going from 1.9, which is a healthy current ratio, down to like 0.8 if they fund $5 billion. See what I mean?
If I'm a director with a lot of stock, I immediately get up. And
I'm gonna be
sell
freaking
my-
out.
One of my
I'm gonna sell
shareholders.
stock.
Yeah. How's this going to impact? So
I'm
you
gonna
guys
lose
have
my
to,
job on the board.
So it may need to be a mix. Now this is good right here, but how does this impact the buyout? What this impacts to us for the buyout is that,
Oh, I see.
you know,
So for our understanding.
Where did you guys get these numbers?
Yes, yes.
I'm so. I just have to ask.
well, that's a good question, because are those even truly what a
I might
long-term
buy it
debt
online.
interest rate?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, but where'd you get it?
And so when you're talking about financial numbers, okay, you can go to 4 or 5 different places, and you'll get 4 or 5 different answers. So what you need to do is,
Bloomberg.
okay,
Okay.
Bloomberg is probably.
Well, Bloomberg, we got 9 terminals here on the
We got
second
9.
floor.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
you guys
information
need to
you can
research
pull
that.
Where you can actually, we can schedule appointments for you to go down there and actually
Oh, that's
use the
good.
terminal, or get somebody to sit with them
Gavin.
and use the terminal.
Gavin used to do that.
Because what we're seeing here is,
It's enormous.
I'm gonna ask
Please,
immediately
sorry.
from the financial side is, where are you getting this, where are you getting this capital here? Numbers, and also
What the
where-
return on invested capital?
Where are you getting it? Where are your sources, and where are you using
There's
for
a
your-
Y chart on the
Your
website.
numbers on long-term and short-term interest rates are correct, pretty close.
Yeah, those are really good.
But I mean.
Yeah, but where are they from?
Exactly,
From
source.
the annual report.
It's from their own annual report.
The 4.4 and 1
Long-term
point-
and short-term, basically from the annual report, and I calculate on the average, on the
Good.
weighted average.
Yeah, but the-
Perfect, you have an answer then.
But the annual report is not gonna give you future expected interest rates, right?
No, they have that on another
They have,
slide.
they have.
And I'll tell you, on all your slides, it's gonna be a little work. I put footnotes on those slides.
Yes,
to
you're right.
Reference everything that's on those slides.
Reference on this, the
Yes,
same page.
because this isn't a marketing plan, this is a financial plan, right?
Or at
People in
least,
finance they
Yeah.
wanna tie everything. They wanna be able to look at this and see where all that goes. And I mean, that ROIC to me looks high. I mean, that's pretty.
where did you guys calculate that from? Is that from
I mean, that's good,
Hoover's?
that is very good.
Which one?
The 19.8, no, 19.18?
I just,
I would
buy online
would put my
for the Y
IRA
chart.
inside.
I put
Website.
everything I own.
You need to say where you got it from.
The Y chart.
What's
What
the
is
Y chart?
It's a website.
Y chart, the Y, like the letter Y?
Yeah, Y
Y
chart. Yes.
Okay. Instead of using that terminology,
Yes.
I would say we've cross-checked it with multiple references.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how accountants are, but they're gonna look at
but-
the source.
Because, and just stick to something like that. If they ask specifically, then say it, you know, but,
Yeah.
Is
Is the Y chart okay, or you need more,
I don't know, did you guys know what
We're
the Y
meeting
chart
with
was?
I know what Y chart
Okay,
is,
I don't-
But is it a reputable thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it
it's
is.
like when, we never use Yahoo or Google except just to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, but is
Because
that,
It's not a good source.
was that on Hoover's too, Wendy? Do you know if you guys got that from
No.
Hoover's as well?
so if I say Hoover's is better?
No, you need to go figure out where it actually is
I know, if
from.
the resource is Hoover's, I mean, it's better.
I think it'd be better, it could be.
I wouldn't say necessarily one or the other's better. I would just say that
Use it.
it's a good question because number one, you know, it's an important concept. But I don't know. I just would want, just in your arsenal, I guess, or your, you know, if you can pull it out and say, hey, I did, you know, if they do specifically ask for a couple of places, make sure you've checked a couple of different places and you can say the name if you get to that point. And then, like President Anderson said, just check those numbers with 2 or 3 different places.
And make sure you footnote.
And footnote.
sources.
Now, what mainly are you, why are you sharing this information related to the buy and buyout? Why is this important?
So far, from my research, I can only figure out we can use the cash and the cash equivalent to pay the pension buyout. And now we have a due debt with the same amount as what we have for the cash assets.
Okay, yeah.
So, what we can pay for the pension buyout, that's from our profit from operation. That's the only way. But so far
Okay.
here, we can see the return on the invested capital is really high. So that means so far we have a strong profitability.
Are those assumed interest rates on the liquidity or the investments of Ford, or are those the interest rates on if they were gonna borrow money? Is that?
That's the interest rate for this borrowing.
And I got from this that debt is not an option. Is that right, or am I wrong? In other words, when they figure out how much you're gonna have to fund this thing, do you have the ability, can you borrow, can Ford borrow any more money? 'Cause I remember.
That's the rate, not for Ford to borrow money in the future. That's the rate on their liability. That's the rate for the short-term and long-term debt in their liability. Already there.
So I mean, is
Just
that
calculate.
1.4 and 4.4, is that what Ford's earning on
Yeah,
their?
already there.
That's what they're earning?
Yeah.
That's not what you're saying they will have to pay on any debt, right? Those are.
You mean the
returns
4.4
as
and
opposed-
1.4?
Yes, those are actual.
That's the interest rate.
Now they're receiving or they're paying?
They own assets
Paid
paying
interest
them in
rate.
return of 4.4 and 1.4%.
Yes.
They currently own those
Thank you so
assets.
much
Yes.
for being here.
No, that's not assets. That's a liability.
I gotta go get my
But they're
kids.
paying.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta get my kids.
Oh, okay.
It's starting so late.
I know.
Bye.
Yeah, they own this money. They own money.
'Cause I think it is, because they're talking about return on invested capital, but you show a slide where you got an overall return on invested capital of 19.8%, but you're only getting 1.4% and 4.4. I mean, boy, you're earning a heck of a lot of money on operations of this company, right?
Yeah, your your income's really
High.
high. I mean,
Yeah.
it is, and then that, can you back into the numbers, I guess, is what I-
What?
Back into the number of
Well-
net income from this, you
Well,
mean?
no, I mean, if these interest rates are interest rates that Ford is receiving on their cash or their investments. In other words, every company has investments, right? In other words, they have excess cash, they buy stocks, they buy bonds, whatever. And if they're earning 4.4% on their bond portfolio for long-term debt, 1.4 on short-term, how in the heck are they generating a 19.8 overall?
Yeah, you need to figure out how they're doing it.
That's the
Just make sure.
financing part. That's the financing part, not the full investment.
Okay, so a
That's
minute
what
ago you
financing-
said it was investment, but it is the finance. It is if they want to borrow money in the future.
I will compare the benefit with the cost. The cost is 1.4 and 4.4. And
If
the
they wanted to
benefit,
borrow money.
yeah, I borrow money, invest in my business. And
But you're
here's my
making the
earning.
return of 19.8
And 1.4 and
by
4.4 is the cost.
Right, and the 19 is the return.
19
Yeah.
is the return, so it's
Yeah,
worth it
that's the
to,
return.
so basically, are you
That's
saying
fine.
it's
That's-
worth it to go ahead and get long-term or short-term debt? Because you're returning a lot of money on that, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So are you saying that we should
So the
incur
interest
debt?
expense will be a piece of cake
So
compared with
yeah.
our earnings.
Your hurdle.
Okay, yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
But-
What is Ford's weighted average cost of capital?
Cost of capital.
Right, what's the overall cost, total capital of Ford Motor Company? In other words, a company has operating capital, right?
Yeah.
Which is basically your net operating working capital and your fixed assets. And then you get a return on that, right? And
You guys
then
did do a great job.
all of those
Thank you.
assets
It'll be
have to be
awesome.
funded by either debt or equity, right? So
Yes.
that debt and equity is your financial capital. So there's a cost for debt and there's a cost for equity. You do the weighted average of those two and you come up with a weighted average cost of capital and you compare that to your return on invested capital, and that tells you whether or not you're destroying shareholder value or not.
That's probably a good
I
assessment.
mean,
to-
if you're gonna use ROIC, you gotta do the other side of it. In
Yeah,
other words, you can't just tell me 19 looks great, but if your cost of capital is 20%, you're destroying shareholder value. Does that make sense? In other words, you've got assets, right?
Yeah.
And you're earning a return on those assets, right?
Yes.
They're funded by either debt or equity,
Mhm.
and there's a cost for debt or equity.
Mhm.
What's the difference? That's the profit. That's the
so
cash
that
flow.
long-term debt
Equity,
interest rate wouldn't be the
you
rated
use
average
some
cost of capital?
ownership.
No, that's just the cost of debt. You gotta have a cost
So
of
how much
equity.
debt do they have outstanding in comparison to how much equity you have?
Total is
Exactly.
100 billion.
Okay, so you would just calculate, maybe you carry 30% debt, so it'd be 30% times the rate.
Yes,
times
yes, definitely.
70%
Yes,
of
definitely.
your return on.
Well, can we calculate it now? Because what you guys are talking about is good, but I don't even know how that stuff works.
Yeah.
So let me go get the annual report for, I'm gonna turn this off.